This is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action, and you're listening to the Krypton Report.
Welcome to the Krypton Report podcast. I'm Tyler, the Superman of Blue, and I don't always sing. And this is James, the Superman of Red. Cole, what up, buddy?
Right, I didn't realize we were having a different musical intro.
Yeah, we were. You didn't know? My bad.
No, I didn't realize this was the musical episode.
Yep. We're going to sing every line that we discussed today because we just randomly tossed a coin and it came up musical. So get back and get ready for the worst sound you will ever hear in your life. That's right. Me? Yeah.
It's Dumb and Dumber.
Listen to us go.
Yeah.
Anyways, welcome. We are here today to discuss the legend that is Superman. It's good stuff. Good stuff.
I've heard of that guy.
Yeah, me too. But let's get into this here.
Got some news for us.
Got some news, and then we'll have a little discussion and some comics and some Superboy. But first things first, Free Comic Book Day is coming up soon, and these are the DC books that Free Comic Book Day will be offering. A DC Next Level Special, DC X Sonic the Hedgehog, The Nice House on the Lake, which I think is a Vertigo title, and Aqua Manatee. So, an introduction book, a kiddie book, a cool book, and a horror book.
Well, I mean, that's actually kind of nice if they're going to have something like some specific items with those two, because every year they just have a whole bunch of short stuff,
Yeah.
and some stores will just let you take like one of everything, but some stores have like a limit on per person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then they give them all out free afterwards,
which is fine.
Then they're like, please take them.
We can't stock these anymore. We have nowhere to put these.
Right.
And you're just like, well, should have given me more when I asked for it. My next piece.
I don't want to read it.
Now you're like, now I don't want it. The next piece of news I have is it is reported that Guy Gardner will only show up for one scene in DC Lanterns. And I'm like,
I mean, that's all he showed up for was one scene in Peacemaker.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I don't need him, but just enough for that connective tissue. You know what I'm saying? That's all I care about. A little connective tissue. And speaking of,
it's funny to have. It's funny to think that guy, that Nathan Fillion, is kind of like the through line connective tissue so far with the DCEU projects. Or the DCU projects. At least live action up to this point.
Well, I mean, okay.
I'd laugh if he shows up in Supergirl somewhere, because he's a lantern. He could be out in space doing something.
Yep. Like in a bar and cantina. Like, hey, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Actually, I think they're tied. It would be him and Frank Grillo. Because Grillo's done Creature Commando, Superman, Peacemaker. Nathan's done Peacemaker. He'll appear in Lanterns. And he was in Superman. So if Frank Grillo makes an appearance in Lanterns, he's the one that he's more of the through line. But
right.
Interesting thought. But speaking of appearing and stuff, Aaron Pierre has joined the Superman sequel, Man of Tomorrow, ahead of his debut as a Green Lantern in Lanterns. This is from Variety. So, it's pretty legit.
Yeah,
So,
I think that one might be all of the big trades were reporting on that one that I saw. So hopefully,
because James Gunn's in Atlanta right now prepping to start filming, and so it makes sense, you know. It would be cool to see Jon Stewart with Superman
yeah,
and like a legit Green Lantern suit, compared to
the Justice
guys.
Gang suit.
Yeah, the Justice Gang.
Yeah,
That's why I don't get so mad about Guy's suit in the movie, is because him, Terrific, and Hawk are all corporatized. You know, they're Lord Justice Gang suits. So, and then
I love that he's a police cop and he polices a sector of 2817 and he's still just like got bills to pay.
I mean, or he just likes spending
Corporate
money.
superhero,
He's got to pay to eat that cereal and drink that milk, man.
right?
So this is crazy. We are okay. It is March. So let's just say April, May, June. We're about 3 months away, 4, give or take, depending on if you want to pick the date. We'll say about 4 months away from Supergirl. And we just got this news yesterday that Claudia Cernay has replaced Tom Holkenborg, a.k.a. Junkie XL, as the composer for Supergirl, which would make her the third composer that was assigned this project. Previously replaced Raman Dujwade. Yeah,
Artie.
which I like his stuff, like Pacific Rim, Iron Man 1. And of course, I'm kind of glad, I'll be honest with you, I haven't listened to her music yet. I was going to today. But I'm kind of glad they replaced Junkie XL, because I feel like we're doing a new DC universe. We need some different tones. And like Junkie XL is, you know, all over. He's done superhero stuff. He did Zack Snyder's Justice League. He was part of the BVS team. You know, he's done other superhero stuff. I kind of like the idea of somebody different stepping in and maybe making something that's going to stand out and not just sound like the same kind of driving things that we've heard.
Well, I mean, hopefully the idea, you know, hopefully with them changing the way that they have, maybe they are looking for a specific tone for the film and for the story, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those that I think we've seen so many times with the same composers recycled. I mean, this is a similar discussion I had, I think, with myself or with Jania when Hans Zimmer was being brought in to do Man of Steel, you know, having done, and BVS having done, you know, Batman Begins. And just like, okay, he's doing another Batman, but that's why he brought Junkie in to do the Batman stuff, you know, for that film. So it's nice to just see some different composers instead of the same few names, always reshuffled around. So yeah, I just I'm kind of glad. Like, hopefully she can pull it off in time, you know, but it's going to be different. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. It is, like I said, interesting that earlier when the news broke, it's just like weird, like 3 composers for Supergirl.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's so I don't feel like it, it's the score, you know. I don't feel like it can make or break a movie, but also
I mean, I guess one of the biggest things about score is Home Alone. Okay? Follow me here. That movie part of what makes that movie as great as it is John Williams' music. It is way too good for that movie. But it stays with you and helps cement that film in your mind, especially for the holidays. A score can elevate a film above what the film does on its own. So I'm going to try to listen to some of her music.
Yeah. I mean, a score certainly is iconic, and I mean it's an important part of the production to get the entire point across. So I don't know. I'm haven't really heard of this composer, but also I'm not like a huge like score follower, Like I don't know. I know some good, I know some stuff out there, but it's not like my primary form of listening. But anyway, yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we get. It is 3.5 months out. I mean, are they gonna lock picture like the week before because they gotta sync up the timing and everything?
Hopefully they have their locked edit so it'd be easier for her to score to.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
The other thing I want to say, of course I always listen to other podcasts from people, and I heard someone say the Lanterns trailer felt kind of like Titans, where more gritty and real world. And I was like, okay. But it did get me thinking about something though. And I think it's worth mentioning here. Lanterns will be the 5th or 6th, depending on how you're counting, DCU project. Okay. But it's another DCU project that's not family accessible. Like so far, the only project we've gotten from the DCU that's family, all ages type accessible is Superman. So think about it. Follow me here. And I include this one, The Suicide Squad. Rated R. Not for families. Creature Commandos. Not for families. Peacemaker. Not for families. Superman, which would be the next project here. And then Supergirl, which is probably more accessible, but I've heard it's a darker film just through the thematic elements we've seen.
Right.
And then Lanterns. And I'm just kind of like, oh, like I just got thinking about that, And then the next thing to come out is going to be Clayface from the DC universe. And I think, and I'm like, well, that's rated R. So I'm just kind of like, you're building a whole universe, but you're not building anything that's really letting everybody join in, other than Superman.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing is we can kind of count Blue Beetle in on that.
All right. If James wants to count Blue Beetle, okay, in my chronology, that means that Blue Beetle.
Well, they still said they're pushing forward with the animated Blue Beetle and Zolo Medina. No. Anyways, so he's coming back. He's continuing to be, and we did discuss in the fact that movie. I so badly want to watch that movie again.
I know I'm in the mood too.
That it's it squarely fits in a DC universe. There was nothing else connecting it to make it the DCEU. It could easily be the DCU.
So if we put that
in, it would fit in that much easier. The Shazam doesn't because it's got too much DCEU.
Yep.
But Blue Beetle, absolutely, out of everything DCEU prior, besides the Suicide Squad, because like Harley Quinn and Rick Flag are in that.
That's okay. We've seen.
But
that.
Also, we've seen this. We've seen the multiverse now, so we've seen Rick Flag on other universes. So
it works. It works.
Exactly. So, Blue Beetle is really the only DCEU quote unquote movie that would easily drop into the DC universe.
So if we put Blue Beetle in there, that makes 2 solid projects. And then 8 would be Clayface. 9 would be Man of Tomorrow. So come on, James Gunn, you gotta work. We need a new animated series. Something for everybody. But speaking of series, it's time to dive back into season 4 of Superboy. James's favorite show. So
It's grown on me. It's grown on me during our watch through.
Good.
For a while there, it was homework, but now I look forward to when it's time to put on the next episodes to watch them.
Good, because you'll love next month.
It makes me want to go back and rewatch some of the Superboy we've already done because I don't feel like it's quite as much of a chore.
I really miss the DC Universe app because I'd like to be able to just flip through some of these randomly, but if they give me a good sale on it online, I might buy digital copies. But season 4, episode 9, Hell Breaks Loose. A troublesome ghost is haunting the bureau, wreaking havoc in the office and its employees. To stop him, Superboy and Lana must discover the secret as to how the ghost was killed in the building 50 years earlier. Dum, dum, dum. James, thoughts?
Tyler, I liked the flashbacks within the episode. I liked that Christopher and Stacy both got to play the younger versions of those characters. Kind of reminded me of what they did with Joe and what was Lana's character's name in the past?
Not Eileen, Irene, something like that.
Kristen's character kind of gave me a little bit of that vibe, so that was fun. There was a part where I got distracted by reading, and because I had an issue up, and I was like, wait, how did we get here? So I started it over, and I put my tablet down to finish the episode, to rewatch the episode.
James I forgot what I was doing. I was trying to see if there was any trivia or anything to know about this, but no.
I did like how they tied it back to our blind teller downstairs. The guy who sells the papers and whatnot downstairs of the bureau, the blind guy. It tied back to him when he was younger. Well, not to him, but he was around in those days, so he kind of knew of who the person was who resulted in being the ghost, which was Gerard Christopher's old 1930s character. He was in that wall for 50 years.
Yeah, very Edgar Allan Poe-ish.
But no, it was a fine episode all around.
Got a 6.6 on IMDb, and so episode 10, Into the Mystery, 6.9 rating on IMDb. Written by J.M. DeMatteis. Trying to protect his Aunt Cassandra, Superboy confronts a force which he cannot win against when death takes a human form. This is probably the weirdest episode ever. because we get a character we've never heard of, his Aunt Cassandra. And like it's these little flashbacks with her and him talking, and Clark's calling cousins we have no knowledge of, trying to find out where she disappeared and where she's living now. And he, like, Death just shows up and plays a flute and takes people, and Clark, finds his aunt who's dying and then hears the music. So I don't know. What did you think?
I mean, it was definitely a weird episode. The weirdest thing I kind of picked out of the episode, for all of the weirdness that went on, was young Clark, when he was so young with his Aunt Cassandra. He was still wearing glasses.
Yeah.
Like so how long has he needed to disguise as opposed to just being a kid?
Yeah.
That was odd. But no, it was interesting the way that Death kept showing up, and for some reason Superboy was able to see and hear this ghostly form of Death and kept saving people, kind of thwarting Death's plans, Death's design.
Yeah, it'd be even neat if they went like a full Final Destination with it,
Right. It is okay in the respect of this show where he's the stakes are usually not huge in a lot of these episodes. Sometimes they're really good, but this one, it is life and death, and him losing somebody close to him, like he's lost his parents in the past, but this one he's kind of racing against it, trying to prevent it from happening, and learning to have to accept it, as opposed to, say the heart attack with Jonathan, and it just happens and it's over. Nothing can be done. In this story, he's kind of racing against losing her.
Yeah.
So that's about as much as there is to the episode.
Yeah, it's pretty short. Now, the next one is To Be Human, parts 1 and 2. Both written by J.M. DeMatteis. Part 1, 7.8. We'll talk about it first. While trying to help Bizarro with his depression, Superboy's powers are weakened, leaving him vulnerable to the evil villain Chaos, who plans to destroy him once and for all. All right. I like these two episodes. This is probably the most comic accurate Bizarro we've had. The second would be the Superman and Lois, which was kind of a mix between like Bizarro and Ultraman in a lot of ways. But I like this episode. Well, these two episodes. So basically at the beginning, we're at the Bizarro house. And there's Bizarro Lana, and she dies. There's no way of getting around that. And Bizarro comes to Superboy and everything, and he's like, there was a fault in the cloning process. Must have been a weakness. And what they do is they find out through the scientific lab that they have a way of graphing skin and using some of Superboy's mind to fix Bizarro and make him human. So the actor who's always in the Bizarro suit gets to actually play, not in the Bizarro. So I thought that was cool.
I did like seeing that. I did like the actor getting to play the character, not in all the makeup and the suit and everything. That was really fun. And it is a nice, bizarro hero story.
Right. And the transference, I guess, leaves Superboy a little weak, and then I'm trying to remember. I don't want to give something away because I'm trying to remember what was in which part. Because you watch them back to back. Sometimes you forget.
It was so. It was after Bizarro Lana died. He went to Superboy, and they went to that scientist lady, the older woman, and she said that they could do like the skin stuff. That should be easy. And then there was a transference that she was working on, experimenting with like brainwaves to help him think and speak more normal, as opposed to the way he did. And then they went through that process, and that's Bizarro didn't have any more power. He didn't have any powers. He wasn't a Superboy clone, like made to be normal. He was kind of made in to be a normal person.
Yeah. It's an interesting
and then that's when Superboy was getting weak.
And he was attacked by chaos.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of like the very end of the episode, or was that the beginning of the next one? Something like that.
He gets attacked at the end. Did you recognize the actor who played Chaos?
He looks like the guy from RoboCop, but I don't know.
He is the guy from RoboCop.
He is the guy from RoboCop? Okay.
Yes. Dude, when I was a kid, when he comes out after getting all the acid on it, it freaked me out so bad.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
like, ooh! And then they just hit him with the police car.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It freaked me out so bad.
I always thought that was pretty gross. The way he comes out and he's like all melted and droopy and everything. Yeah.
So, all right. So part 2, okay, To Be Human Part 2 picks up where Bizarro learns that his human form was made to resemble the doctor's dead son who died in a war that she didn't believe in. And then we learn that Superboy is kidnapped by Chaos and he's going to be destroyed. There's only one choice Bizarro has to make, that he can turn back to Bizarro and save Superboy. But if he does, he'll always be Bizarro. He'll never be able to go back. And he chooses not to save Superboy. End of episode.
All right. Superboy dies.
Yeah, Superboy dies.
I couldn't believe the series ended that way.
And then the rest of the series is just like some fever dream of Lana.
Right.
It's weird.
Dealing with the tragic loss.
I know, of Superboy.
We got Jamie. She looked at me like, what?
She's like, huh?
Watch the episode with me.
That's why she's so lost. She's like, I don't know what? James, what happened? No, but of course Bizarro sacrifices himself to save Superboy. Like I said, it got a 7.8 on IMDb for part 2. I think it's 2 of the best episodes. The Bizarro stuff's always good on Superboy.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I like the way that Bizarro ultimately sacrificed his happiness, of being kind of just a normal, regular person.
Oh, we forgot to mention the part where Bizarro shows up at the bureau and Clark's like, huh? Who are you? How do you know? And he's like, it's me, brother. He's like, Bizarro? And he introduces himself to Lana as Bill Zarro.
Yeah, Bill Zarro.
I thought that was pretty funny. I'm Bill.
Right.
Bill Zarro. I'm like, okay. That's a little bit of a stretch, but better than Zarro.
Yeah, and then it ended on a super cheesy line, like they were teaching him to read, and instead of him saying "me am," he said "I am," or something like that.
and their guys
And he's like
ABCs.
real good teacher, and it was just
Yeah.
real. It ended on a real cheesy like after school special kind of line. It was funny, but I loved it. I had a good laugh.
Bizarro. We'll miss you. But that's all the Superboy we have. Now it's time to get into, drumroll, what I'm calling Supergirl v Darkseid. It is. We wanted to tackle this story a little bit because I wanted to hit some strong Kara storylines and everything before we get into the new film. And this is the story arc when Jeff Loeb reintroduces her to the DC universe. Now, previously we had talked about what was the point of the Jeff Loeb story that we read. You know, basically, well, it wasn't just Jeff Loeb, but the Return to Krypton story. And we talked about, the big part there was the fact that it brought Crypto back. It introduced Crypto and put him back into the universe. So this is how we reintroduce Supergirl. Now, I do want to point out that this is a multi-issue arc and that they did make the animated film Batman Superman Apocalypse based on it. We will be watching that later this month. It'll appear on our Patreon. And as of this recording, we have not watched it, and I have not seen that film in years. So
Nice. Well, that'll be fun. That'll be fun to watch. I like that movie. It's pretty good. It's got it's got a couple of my favorite bits from the animated films, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Especially the Fury scene. I think that's probably one of the best.
And I like when they go to see Big Barda, and you get to see how big Barda really is.
Yeah.
So it's called The Supergirl from Krypton.
Although there's something in the book here that I'll point out when we get there because it's not in the animated movie.
That's what I'm saying. I don't remember enough. So let's start. The Supergirl from Krypton Part 1. Alone. All of a sudden I got Hearts Alone in my head. Nice little 80s song.
Yeah. So here it's the meteor that was blown up from Public Enemies, the large chunk of Krypton that was on its way to Earth. It was blown up, and it has rained kryptonite down on the Earth. And Batman is he's collecting it. He's searching around for it. At the beginning, starts off, he's in Gotham River, and he's searching for kryptonite and collecting it. And he finds a ship underwater. And we get
I do want to point out that I just love Jeff Loeb's writing for Batman Superman because I love the internal monologues that he gives the two of them.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest selling points of this run of his and with Batman and Superman. And we got Michael Turner as the artist.
Yep.
On these books, and Peter Steigerwald on colors, and the art throughout all of these issues is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But we get a body in the water, a woman climbing into Batman's Batboat and kind of taking off, and Batman, he's alerted while he's down there. He grapple guns the Batboat as it runs off and crashes, and then we got the woman kind of walking through the streets naked, like Terminator 3 style.
Yeah, and at least she's not being propositioned and almost like abused and hit on like we saw in Supergirl the movie.
Right. Not quite to that degree. Somebody kind of gets in her face a little bit, and um,
She
she
breaks
breaks his
hand.
fingers. Not necessarily. I don't think she did that on purpose.
No.
Um, so it's been a while. There was a time when I actually knew everything she said and I could read it, because everything
Hence,
she says is written in Kryptonian. And the back of this book has the alphabet
yeah,
in it,
which
so you can
I've used to make my tattoo.
Yes. Um, and I could read what she was saying before, but I haven't gone back to it in quite a while, so I don't remember what she says. So anything she's saying here, like, I don't know. But Batman's following her. Um, she has a coat, so she's covered up now. But she walks out into a street, and a car crashes into her, like Smallville bus style into
Mm-hmm.
Clark. She accidentally uses her heat vision and blows up a street light, and a cop car. And she kind of starts flying, not knowing what's going on. She is panicking. I do know that much in this
Oh
moment.
yeah.
And she is getting shot at. Bullets are bouncing off of her, but she flies up to the side of a building, and that's where she meets Batman. And she kind of continues to raise from there. And she flies into one of the blimps flying over Gotham, and it starts crashing, and Superman flies in there and catches the blimp and takes it out to the Gotham harbor and drops it in the water. Um,
And then what does
super.
Batman do?
So he goes to the young woman, kind of curled up, crying, not knowing what's going on. He doesn't know who she is, but he pulls out some kryptonite. And next thing, we got her waking up in the Batcave, and Batman scanning her. She breaks free, speaking in Kryptonian or Kryptonese, and then but Cal's there, Superman's there, and he grabs her and starts talking to her in the same language. And this is Kara Zor-El, my cousin from Krypton.
And she's wrapped in his cape.
And the sheet.
And book 2, The Supergirl from Krypton, Part 2, Visitor. So this is when you have Clark and Bruce are in the fortress. They're working through her ship, and it says, "This vessel carries my daughter Kara Zor-El from the now dead planet Krypton. Treat her as you would your own child, for you will see the treasure she will be for your world." Do you think we translated the word treasure properly? For the 40th time, yes. It means treasure, not terror, not trouble. Then Kara comes running out, freaking out, screaming. She's being chased. She's being chased by that, and it's Crypto. And Superman's like, "Crypto, down, boy, down." He's shooting his heat vision at her. He's attacking, which I really want to see Crypto's heat vision in the movie. And then Clark basically dismisses her and sends her to his room. As she walks through the fortress, we see the weapons, the zoo, and then she says to Batman, "Why can't you leave me alone? You never understand what it's like to be me." And he says, "Then explain it to me." She talks about losing her father and mother before her eyes. And he asks her some questions, and she says, "I don't remember. I know that my uncle's Jor-El and my aunt Lara." She says, "Damn you." And then she starts telling her story about how my father was the scientist named Zor-El. He didn't have the position on the science council that Jor-El had, but he had the same passion for his beliefs. She She tells the story of him sending her to Earth. And then she says, the rest you told me. And then Cal says, I think she's ready. He's like, ready for what? Then we see Granny Goodness's ugly face, which, was scary. And we see the Furies, which I forgot some of their names. So, Stampa, Lashina, Bernadette, which I think is sweet, Guillotina.
And Mad Harriet.
So,
yeah, it's pretty quick in here. In the animated movie, it's a kind of an extended little fight scene here where this one, they call her Precious in this. I'm pretty sure they might call her Treasure in the animated movie, but she's kind of fighting to be the head of Darkseid's honor guard. And in that regard, she has to take on the entire team of the Furies. And in that, it's kind of pretty. It's a good fight, her versus all of them, and ultimately them overwhelming her. And in this, it's just quick. They just like gut her.
Yeah.
So and they can't replace Big Barda is the problem there. But then we're in Metropolis, and Clark and Kara are, just walking around. Bruce is kind of stalking them.
He's like, you got the shopping part down for an Earth girl. She says Cal. He says Clark. You can't forget. She says she's starving, so he gets her a hot dog. And she asks him about his disguise, that nobody recognizes you. And they walk into the park, and she sees the statue and says, oh, this is how they see you. And they would not think to look down for you. Of course, we have Batman's monologue about Clark's DNA has been replicated before. Superboy is a living example. It's her psychological profile that is unusual. Bottom line, she knows how to work him. Then we see an attack. We have a great shot of Superman getting hit. Goes into the bush. And then that shot of him coming out, that panel, where he's like, Kara, is pretty epic.
Yeah, it is. They keep it under wraps for a couple of pages. If you know what a character looks like, you can kind of tell who it is, but they don't show you who it is until a few more pages in, and it's Wonder Woman in the Amazons.
Yeah, we see Harbinger. And I didn't put two and two together the first time I saw this movie. Like, Lila is Harbinger, like as in Crisis Harbinger.
Right.
That's why I didn't put it together. Maybe because they depict her differently in the movie. I'll have to watch it again. And he starts fighting her. He's like, no one's taking her. Batman throws a batarang, taking out a bow. He's fighting Artemis, takes her down. And then Kara gets down, and it's Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Holding Kara.
Well, during the fight, they've got Kara takes off, flies away, and then she gets yanked back down. And when she hits the ground and is dragging, she uses her heat vision. And it's Wonder Woman on the other end there. So, like, all in all, when it comes down to it, they're like... and once they go into the next, it's if it was a crowded park in the middle of the day and something happened, like, is she able to control her powers?
Which takes us to part 3, Warrior. And it's a pretty, like, we see her battling on Paradise Island, Themyscira. And Superman and Batman are there. They've been invited, which is, different because they're men on the island. And Kara's getting taken out. Superman runs in and stops the warrior and says, she says, Cal, stop it. And he's fighting with Wonder Woman about Kara, and she basically tells him, um, she needs to stay here. She needs to learn how to handle herself, her powers, and become who she is, and not just be kept aside by Clark, buried in the fortress. And Kara has this great line about getting rid of me so the adults can talk. And she goes off with Lila. And I think we're going to be friends for a long time. Thank you, Kara. You have no idea how much that means to me. Man. And then we see a vision. And then I kind of, this next page, I kind of don't like how we just turn the page and there's Doomsday. I wish there had been a little bit more of a lead up. Like I just don't like the way this page is structured.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a 2-page splash with a bunch of panels, but largely in the center is a pretty awesome looking Doomsday.
Yeah,
but
I think about the way they hid like Wonder Woman and all of them attacking. It would have been really interesting if they would have hid like who this is that's coming.
Yeah,
You know,
I feel like they could have done more of like the boom tube, wondering what's going on, the shadowy figure, but like since it's on a splash page, it's like it's just Doomsday right in your face, and then it boom, like you see that he comes through a boom tube, and
then you see like a bunch.
But
I just think it could have been done better, more intense, because then you see a bunch of them coming through, and we just see Amazon's attack and Batman's holding a battle axe. So,
yeah, the monologue stuff here is interesting, where Superman is just telling, Superman and Batman are saying everything that's going on, the Amazons protecting, Diana and them putting their lives on the line. And then Batman, these aren't, he's just like they're DNA replicants, and that they're not like living things, and so he's like chopping them down with his axe.
which I mean, hey, that's how you got to roll, right?
Right, and then last or at the beginning of the issue, Superman grabbed Artemis up by the throat when she was sparring with Kara, but here she's about to be smashed by a Doomsday, and Superman just comes in and like just wrecks Doomsday straight up the middle, splits its head in two with his fist.
Well, yeah, that's what you do, man. That's how you...
Yeah, but then Superman says super hearing confirms no heartbeats, and microscopic vision, they're animates. They're not even like living creatures of Doomsday. So he says this ends now, and does a massive heat vision wave and destroys everything.
If this was if this was done now, he would have went solar flare and be completely powerless.
Well, I'm glad that that's not the case.
I'm just
and
saying,
they haven't done solar flare in the comics in quite some time.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like every time we see like extreme heat vision stuff now, it's immediately where they go to.
Yeah, I think something like that still needs to be saved for something. If you're gonna do it, I think the expelling the heat vision like that is just fine.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Batman ran to the water because he heard a second boom tube open. He thought it was just maybe an echo, but it was not. It was a second boom tube. And what happens is they go, and it's not Kara they find dead. It's Lila. And who took her, James?
Darkseid. Lila in her death leaves one last vision, and Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman see that it was Darkseid who came and took Kara.
Darkseid's gonna get it.
Oh yeah.
For part 4, Prisoners. This one opens up with a beautiful, nice suburban neighborhood. And we have the monologue saying, "We're going to the gates of hell. I'm taking back my cousin." There's a ring at the doorbell. A woman answers in a towel. And a towel wrapped above her head. We go inside, and it's Superman and Wonder Woman are in the home. And she asks, "When did you get here, Batman?" And he's like, "I'm always here." And we find out Scott, Mr. Miracle, is on tour. She can't get a hold of him, and Barda states that she says, "An enemy of Darkseid's is a friend of mine. Just give me a minute, we can go." Superman has to fly up a little bit to meet her eye to eye, which I love. I love that she's taller than him.
Yeah, that's the thing there that I was talking about that they don't have in the animated movie is how much bigger she is over Superman and Diana, and that to meet her eye to eye or even to go above her, Superman hovers.
Which is awesome. Batman borrows something from Mr. Miracle. Barda states it's her boom tube, her mother box. She gets her armor on, and she's like, "Go team," and then boom. Smells like death. There's no place like home. Apocalypse now. So there are the Furies meet Wonder Woman and Barda in battle. Batman goes off to do his own thing.
Which is also one of the best fight scenes in the movie. Barda and Wonder Woman versus the Furies.
I'm actually really excited to watch it again because I'm definitely going to have the kids watch it with us. So.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Grady Goodness looks like she got to a rock concert and realized she's too old for this stuff, but still rocks out anyways. Barda gets captured. Basically, they have her with a sword to her neck, and they're telling that Granny says, "Imagine how pleased Darkseid will be burned to death. Why settle for some girl who fell to earth when I can deliver him the Queen of the Amazons?" Batman's talking about how he doesn't belong in Apocalypse, which he doesn't. Talks about being in Gotham. And he talks about the demon dogs have his scent. And he goes and he finds the hell spores. One of these hell spores is said to be able to blow a hole down to a planet's core, leaving a fire pit. There must be 500 in this armory. And he has a mother box. And he's arming them. And he talks about how Clark mentioned Jason, comparing Kara to Jason. And how he had recently, the events of Hush had just taken place before this, because he mentions seeing someone who looked like Jason.
So he wasn't he wasn't back yet.
Nope. And the demon dog swallows Batman. Superman shows up and meets Kara next to Darkseid. And he says she can leave if she wants to. Superman comes up to her. He's like, "You're safe with me. Darkseid, after Kara's home, you and I have unfinished." And she says, "Cal, you didn't listen to what Darkseid said to you. You never listen to anyone other than your voice." She punches him. She starts kicking him. He says, "Kara, he's corrupted you somehow. I I won't fight you. And then Darkseid says, kill him. And that's the end of the book.
Yeah, that's the end of the issue.
Part 5, Traitor. It starts with... Go ahead.
Oh, it starts where we left off with Superman being downed by Kara. Now she's holding him up by his throat. Batman in the jaws of one of the demon dogs, and Barda and Wonder Woman at the mercy of the Granny and the Furies. Kara throws Superman out of Darkseid Citadel, out through the window. The demon dog kind of crashes over. We got a bunch of smoke. And then Wonder Woman says, I don't care for how this game is being played, Barda. Time to change the rules. And she whips her lasso around Granny's neck. Superman is falling into the fire pit of apocalypse, and Batman opens up the demon dog's jaws, and he tells the soldiers that to take off their armor now. And Wonder Woman says, tell your Furies to put down their weapons, Granny Goodness, or you will be the first to die. So our heroes weren't downed for too long.
No, they can't be.
Right. So Superman and Kara are fighting in the fire pits. Superman says she's powerful. She may be even more powerful than me. She said, I have to think like Bruce and let go of my emotional attachment to this girl. And this is where he opens up his belt and pulls out a kryptonite ring and puts it on his hand and punches Kara.
Yeah, and like just the way it looks like it's infecting his hand, being on him.
Yeah, got a lot of glowing veins down his forearm.
And then
Batman.
This next part I love and hate at the same time, because Batman's like, it's over, Darkseid, and basically tells him he's activated the hell spores and he'll detonate them if they can't leave. And he punches Darkseid with the armor, and Darkseid's like, you dare, and hits Batman. That should have been like game over. Like Batman should have been dead right there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he would have smashed him into the ground. He would have been obliterated. And the way that he slams him into the ground, then he picks him up and throws him into the wall, and then he pushes him into the wall. Like,
yeah, Batman should have been paralyzed after this. He should have like barely breathing.
Well, what we do say here, is he says, like myself, Darkseid is a strategist. He knows the hell spores are in fact primed, and he has already calculated the outcome. The beating I'm taking is only for his personal enjoyment. But Barda's mother box will protect me from him for only so long. So the mother box is protecting him, taking some impact and things like that. It's not going to, it wouldn't save his life, that's for sure. And Superman, when he comes in, says Bruce has barely has a heartbeat after going up against Darkseid.
And he says, had the Kryptonian or the Amazon taken the gamble, they would have lost. They do not have the strength of character it would take to destroy an entire planet to achieve success. But you, a human, you kill your own to win battles. It's an admirable quality. Take the girl. I will make no move against her. I love the way Darkseid's drawn in this, by the way.
Yeah, Darkseid looks fantastic in this. And they draw him pretty much the same way in the animated movie. And he looks so good. and he's voiced by Andrew Brower or Andre Brower
Hmm.
in the film. And dude, like, gotta be, he might even be the best voice. It's tough.
Hmm.
I mean, we got so little from Darkseid in live action, and Michael Ironside's the only real voice for Darkseid. I mean, we did have Tony Todd as Darkseid, which was cool, but it didn't. He didn't have the gravitas with it. I think maybe he was too old and too sick by the time he was doing it.
You know who I think would be a good Darkseid? Is it
His voice
Coleman
changed.
Domingo, who played Bruno Mannheim in Superman and Lois? Like, I'm
Yeah,
rewatching season 3 right now, and his voice, I think he could do a really good Darkseid.
yeah.
So Superman takes, I will hold you to that promise. The entire armies will back him. The mother box will heal your wounds. Leave Apocalypse. They leave. And then Kara wakes up in Rivendell. And she says it was like one long nightmare. And all I remember was trying to get home. She says, but Clark says, between the mother box and the Amazon signs, you've been given a clean bill of health. I'm so sorry. And then they have like a funeral for Lila. And she says, Allura, you asked me once if I could remember my mother's name. Little by little, it's coming back to me. Her name was Allura. If that still matters, Batman says it does. So at the
Um,
fortress, she appears in her suit. She says, what do you think?
which I mean, it's very mid 2000s.
Yeah,
The low rise skirt and the exposed midriff.
you give her a really long midriff. Not a huge fan of the suit, but like that style. Then they decide to go for a flight to a little farm in Kansas where there might be some pie left. But no, there's no pie. What's in the house, James?
Darkseid's in the house. Literally punches through the front door and sends Superman flying into a tractor in the field.
And then your death, however, is long overdue, Superman. And then he shoots his Omega beams. Kara says no, and she gets hit and turned to dust. And that's the end of the book. Yeah, Superman's crying.
Yep.
It's weird
Darkseid.
seeing Darkseid on the farm. And part 6, Hero. Darkseid opens a boom tomb, starts to walk away. Superman says, Darkseid, shut the hell up, and punches him.
Yeah.
I like the way he draws the action of Superman flying.
It's this art is very dynamic, very 3D, you know?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things in the foreground and the background.
Yes.
It's like Superman flying directly at you almost.
Yep.
But Darkseid blasts his Omega beams, and Diana shows up and reflects them back into his face. Clark says, "Stay out of this, Diana," and literally throws her out of the barn and goes after Darkseid. Picks him up and flies him out into space.
Meanwhile, Batman's telling us the story about his whole story about being hidden on a farm. Jonathan find with the eyeglasses, a simple disguise. And then Superman goes towards his favorite place, the sun.
Yep. Taking Darkseid closer to the sun. And here, he's like beating Darkseid up on the surface of the sun. And then he flies Darkseid through a boom tube and smashes him into the source wall.
Which I thought was crazy.
Yeah.
Says
And
this
that's
is where
where
you
he leaves
belong,
him.
along with all the other failures in the universe. And he boom tubes out as he's thinking about his cousin, Kara. And then we see, your parents are fine. They were in town during the entire incident. We see the Justice League is there rebuilding the barn. Flash, Martian Manhunter.
Wouldn't that be nice to just be able to have your home destroyed and rebuilt before the time you get back?
Yep. That's the one thing that's not in this. That's in the other one, the movie. I remember is Jonathan and Martha do show up.
Yeah.
Clark's given the ashes and goes back to Themyscira 2. Kara. Surprise twist. They beamed her out of there and beamed the ashes in at the same time to trick Darkseid.
Yes, sir. Wild, Justice League transporter tech. But Superman and Batman are talking in the fortress. Superman apologizes for the crack he made about Jason earlier. He said it's forgotten, but I don't believe this is like Jason. It's more like Dick Grayson, when Dick decided he'd outgrown being Robin and chose to be Nightwing, separating Batman and Robin. I had trouble letting go. So, but then Kara, she gets to make her own decision at this point. And she is revealed to everyone, the Teen Titans, the Outsiders, the JSA, and the JLA, all introduced to the new Supergirl.
And not to mention that she makes a comment, I hope to meet the JSA. Power Girl and I have to talk. And my cousin tells me I'll find a kindred spirit in Stargirl. And then Connor says, man, this is so cool. And then she will aspire to be a hero. And then she says, thank you, everyone. Batman says, whatever suspicions I may have had about Kara, I've decided to set them aside and trust Clark's instincts. For now. Welcome to our universe, Kara Zor-El. And that's Kara back in the DC universe.
Yep. Where she's been since, I'm pretty sure.
Feels like it.
Yeah, I don't really think that there's been too much of like a new origin or anything. I don't think there was anything post Infinite.
New 52.
Wow.
But then Rebirth changed everything, so. But yeah. The Girl from Krypton.
Yes, sir.
With James Cole. Well, that puts a pin in it. We got some good Kara in there. It's a great story to really help introduce. And we'll, next month, we'll have another throwback Supergirl series from the 70s. Some KO. And we'll pretty much finish up our Loeb Kelly era next month with the big conclusion. So Stay tuned, everybody, for more Krypton Report. And remember,
Look up in the sky!
Thank you for checking out the Krypton Report. Please click our link tree in the show notes to follow us on your favorite social media platform. We have a $1 Patreon, just $1 a month to keep us going. And in return, you get exclusive shows and specials. If you want to join us on an episode, send us an email or a message.
Hi, this is David Patrick Wilson. I played Superman, Clark Kent, in the television production of It's a Bird, It's a Plane. Enjoying every minute of being right here on the Krypton Report.